Well, hello. I'm going to join you in a second. Just thought I'd give you a view of the current state of the nation's capital. It's a little rainy and it's actually not cold out. It's warm. I think it's about 15 degrees Celsius. So for this time of the year, that's not terrible, but it is overcast and rainy. And here I am. How you doing? I hope you're forgiving, and I hope you'll forgive me for not being here last week. As I said I wrote in the intro that I lied down on the couch around 8:30 p.m. 8 or 8:30. I'm not sure exactly the time. I was tired. I had a long day after a long weekend, and I was at my friend's cottage last weekend. We had a golf weekend. It was glorious. We, not this past weekend, but the previous, sorry. We got up there Friday evening, had a couple of drinks, sat in the hot tub, had a cigar, went to bed at around 11 p.m., so nothing outrageous, and then up early the next morning. Breakfast, dishes, hop in the car, go play 9 holes of golf. Because we were walking, we only played 9. I need new golf shoes, and quite frankly, if I'm going to play 18, I got to do it in a cart in those shoes. And new golf shoes are pretty expensive. You're $250 and up for a good pair. And I mean, I will have them for the remainder of my life. So when I buy them, I will spend money on a decent pair. But the last couple of years, I've only played golf. I've only played 1 round a year, and I used to play 20 or 30. But post-pandemic, things are different. Life is different, and I'm busy, and my beloved's phone is ringing in the background. So I apologize for the noise. She's asleep on the couch. This is a Guinness Zero non-alcoholic draft. It tastes exactly like a pint of Guinness. But yeah, I had a wonderful weekend. Played a round of golf, and then we went back to the cottage, dropped off our gear, changed some clothes quickly, washed up, and then we went to a brew house. Or there's a brew pub in the town where my buddies, which is close to my buddy's cottage. It's about a 10-minute drive. So we went to the brewery and sat and I had a flight, so 5 different samples. It's equivalent to about, I think, 2 pints, so nothing outrageous. Sampler, and enjoyed that. And then I bought a 4-pack of beer to take back to the cottage afterwards. Then we went to a local vineyard. Well, local in that it's literally within the town. It's just 2 minutes from the brewery. There's a vineyard high up on a hill, and they have a steakhouse and a giant tent, and it's a really cool place. We just went there for a tasting because we had a dinner planned at the cottage. So we sampled all their wines, and they had some... Oh, that's so annoying. It's so annoying. I'm so sorry about that. I thought I had fixed that. That's Facebook telling me to start a live show that I started 5 minutes ago. We sampled some reds and some whites, and a few of us bought a couple of bottles of wine. Then we hopped in the car. One of our friends was the designated driver, so nothing nefarious. I mean, we did everything above board and by the rules because we're all... Well, I'm the second youngest guy, actually. Our driver he's 52, I'm 55. Everybody else was 62 and up. So we went to another vineyard, which is 10 minutes away. It's actually closer to my friend's cottage than the first one we were at. And we get to this place that it was founded in 2017, but they took a few years to produce several cycles of grapes to produce enough wine so that when they opened their doors, they were able to sell bottles and sell wine, and do flights and samples. And we went there for a tasting. And we pull up, and it's called the River House Winery and Vineyard. And it's right on the Tay River outside of Perth, Ontario, in eastern Ontario. And there used to be a barn there, and it was torn down a long time ago, but the old farmhouse is in the back. It's an old wooden farmhouse, wooden log cabin is what the word I was looking for, an old log cabin. And they built a new barn-style spot. They have a kitchen, and when you walk in on the ground floor, these big barn doors open up, and they've got this giant bar that you can come in, and they've got tables set up inside. And outside, they've got this gigantic space with a gazebo and a fire pit and multiple tables. It's accessible, so they have a ramp that'll take you up to the patio. The patio is covered with fans, so that if it rains in the springtime, if you're having a wedding, you could easily fit 200 people on the patio. It's very big and it's fully covered. And in the main room, which has stained glass at the back and crystal chandeliers and this big bar and this wonderful kitchen, it's just this gorgeous space. They've spent millions of dollars on this, and it's a family business. And what they did, or how it came about, was it was a family who bought this. It was a family farm, and it came up for sale. Like the younger generations didn't want to farm, so it came up for sale about 7 years ago. They bought it, and they were going to farm it, and then somebody said, why don't we make wine? And here we are. So we, had our flight and sampled all their local wines. And I was talking with this lovely couple at the end of the bar. And the guys are like, okay, we're on our way out. I'm like, okay. So I jump up and we hop in the car and we drive away. And we're halfway back to the cottage. And I go, wait a minute, guys. I didn't pay my bill. They're like, what? I go, no. Everybody got up and said, we're going. And I'm just, oh, okay. So I just joined in and I didn't pay my bill. They're like, okay, we'll drop everybody off at the cottage. And Sylvain, he's like, yeah, I'll take you back. So my buddy drove me back because Irish Catholic guilt, I can't walk away from a bill unpaid when I know I owe them. And it was $14. It wasn't a lot of money, but it would haunt my conscience, and it's the principle. And they're starting out. So I showed up. I said, look, I'm so sorry. They're like, you could have called us. I'm like, no, I had to come back and pay you so I would have a clear conscience and be able to sleep this evening. And that's kind of my makeup. It's kind of who I am. It's how I was raised. You pay your way. And when you run up a bill, you pay it, and you don't run out on it. And again, it was not intentional. And I'm sure there's everybody who is watching or listening to this has possibly either encountered something similar or been a part of something similar. It happens. It was not intentional, and I felt terrible about it. And they were like, thank you for coming back. I'm like, oh my goodness, I wouldn't be able to sleep otherwise. And that's not to tell you that I'm this good, sweet guy. That's not the thing. It's not that at all. The lesson in it is like, take care of your debts that you run up. Now I realize that's a very minor one. And perhaps maybe you run or own a company and things can go beyond control and you have to borrow money to keep afloat, and then things don't turn around and you have to declare bankruptcy. That's okay. That's not on you personally. You're trying to run a company, and sometimes that's simply how things go. So I get it. Don't worry about it. It's okay. So how you doing, Stephen? Hope you're well. I I said in the write-up, I wrote that I love Mondays, and that is the truth. I do love Mondays because it means I have another day on this earth, and there was a long time when I didn't want that. But now I do. And the weird thing was, I didn't want it, but I didn't want to end it, if that makes any sense. I just didn't want to wake up. And now I do. Now I look forward to each day, even the difficult ones, because it's another day. You see, any day above ground is a good day. Even the difficult ones. It's better than not having one. And even on my worst days, I still think to myself, well, I could be 1,000 times worse off. And sometimes saying something like that is what gets me through the day. What that 1,000 times worse off is up to you to determine for each individual. You have to figure that out on your own. I can't tell you what you think would be worse. You need to know that. And only you would, because only you are living your life. Me? Just trying to get through the day without hurting myself or anybody else. Some days are better than others. Sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes it's challenging, and there are moments where I get them on occasion, not as much anymore, thankful for the medication, but there are days when I will be sitting at my desk in my office, at the office, not here, but at the office, and I'll be struck with a moment of self-loathing, dread, high anxiety, and all I think is I just want to crawl under that desk right there, curl up in a ball, pull a blanket over my head and go to sleep. But I'm at work. I can't do that. I have to function like a normal human being. And you think to yourself, do I look normal? I hope I look normal. I hope I'm not upsetting anybody. Am I normal? I don't know if I'm normal. Am I normal? I don't know. And the weird thing about that is there's no real set in stone determination of what is normal. There's always a new normal, right? The parameters of what is normal change all the time. So to that, I say this. Embrace each day. Embrace each day as if it was your last, because you don't know when it's going to end. I lost a friend a couple of weeks ago. Turns out he had a heart condition he knew nothing about. Didn't show up on any tests. It was a heart condition that is only detectable post-mortem. So he died very suddenly. And it was determined afterwards, post-mortem, the autopsy, that he had a heart condition that is only detectable after you die, or it kills you, one or the other. I know that sounds terrible and harsh and maybe a little bit heavy-handed, but that was the case for my buddy. We were friends, not super close. Thanks, man. Thanks, Stephen. I appreciate that. We were buddies, not super close, but we knew each other, and we'd hang out and have a coffee every now and then. And, hey, how's it going? How you doing? What's going on? I hadn't seen him face to face in the last 3 years, but a lot of people I haven't because, that whole Pando thing, right? But we were still in touch online, and we'd met through mutual friends. So it was a bit of a shock when I heard about his passing. And I was at a party. It was a Sunday brunch, and my beloved partner Bridget just looked at me. She goes, "Oh my God, do you need time?" I'm like, "No, I'm okay." She goes, "Really?" I go, "Yeah. I've been to 45 funerals in the last 10 or is it 12 years? I'm not even sure anymore." Yes, I'm upset. I'm sad that my friend died. I'm sad that his family is without him, but I wasn't incredibly sorrowful, and I don't know if that's because I've been numbed by all of the funerals I've been to. Maybe I don't know. I felt bummed. I was sad, but I didn't need to go and spend some time alone to think about it. I don't know if that's a knock against me, or if it's just you get older and you learn to accept that these things are going to happen more and more as you get older. These days I go to more funerals than weddings, which It sucks, but that's kind of how it goes when you get to be a little bit older. But I'm thankful for being older because I'm not ready to go yet. And I hope to stick around for at least another 40 years. The very least another 40. I'd like to do 45 so I can make it to 100. That'd be kind of cool, right? Make it to 100 century. I mean, I didn't think I'd make it to a 30, let alone a half century. So I'm 5 years past the half century mark. Let's go for the full century. I had health issues when I was much younger, so that's why I didn't think I'd live so long. But yet here I am, and I am happy to be here. And I'm happy to try and I'm happy to share and to try and help as many people as I can through this channel. I don't know that I do. That's a moment of self-doubt, by the way, because I've been told by some friends and other individuals that I have helped people, but the voice of anxiety is always in your head, even when you're medicated and doing all the right things. It still creeps in from time to time and tells you, you're a waste. Don't even bother. And that's the thing about anxiety. It just lies to you. It lies to you and it tells you things that are not true. You are correct about that, Stephen. Sometimes the depression can mask the emotions, and it does make it harder to express in the moment. You are dead accurate about that. And I think maybe that might be some of it. And then there's other times when you cannot control your emotions. You get the slightest hint of bad news, and not even something catastrophic, not like somebody's died, but something like your favorite sports team, whatever sport you follow the most, lost by a run or a field goal or an overtime goal in hockey, and all of a sudden you just melt because that's the straw that breaks the camel's back. And it's weird how sometimes that can happen. And I've had moments where I've been in public, and in a restaurant having a meal, and have to put the sunglasses on to hide the fact that I'm welling up over something that's not even that emotionally traumatic. But yet it was like literally the straw that broke the camel's back, because you've insulated yourself for so long against all the other painful things that have happened to you, that when it's just the slightest little minor thing is enough to set you off. And I use the sports analogy as sort of a humoristic way of saying, even something as silly as that can break you, because it's true. Sometimes something as silly as that can break you. And don't get me wrong, I understand how sporting events can be an emotional moment for a person, win or lose. I've played hockey my whole life. I was a competitive dragon boater. I ran track when I was younger. So I get it. I love my Ottawa football team, the Ottawa Red Blacks, which is part of the Canadian Football League. I have been cheering for Ottawa teams since 1976, when I discovered the Ottawa Rough Riders and they won the Grey Cup, which would be akin to the Super Bowl in the NFL, except the Grey Cup is like 106 years old or something like that. Without getting into the nitty-gritty of sports franchises, I can get attached to my hockey teams, my football teams, and when they lose, sometimes I feel sad. Not truly sad, it's like, oh, bummer. Hey, how about another round? It goes away that quickly. But if you've got a lot weighing on your soul, your heart, and your mind, and then all of a sudden you get, let's just say you were working insane hours. You've had a rough week at work. Stress has been through the roof. You're short on money. Bills are coming due. You just heard about so-and-so, a friend or a relative or an acquaintance just passed away suddenly, unexpectedly. You go to the pub to have a drink with your friends and you realize you got enough for one pint, and then you get a text about your favorite sports team lost by one run or one touchdown or one field goal or one goal or whatever the case is. And that's can sometimes be the straw that breaks the camel's back, and you just lose it. And that's kind of how life is sometimes. Try and do the best you can for as long as you can until you can't. And it's okay, but it's difficult. And it doesn't ever really get any easier. As you get older, you learn how to deal with it maybe a little bit better. Maybe you can deal with it. That's not even true. Well, not entirely untrue either. You do have some coping mechanisms as you get older. Hopefully you can develop them. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Everybody's different. I don't know. I've been able to develop some. However, I've also been able to mask the emotion of pain. I've also been able to hide the trauma better as I've gotten older because I've been doing it for a long time. So one of the things I've been trying to do is to unlearn that behavior. Unlearn that. Dispose of it and become better at discussing what you're going through when you're going through it. Sometimes you can talk about it very nonchalantly. Say, no, I'm suffering a full anxiety attack right now. You don't look anxious. Yeah, that's because I've been masking it for 40 some years, so I don't know how to express it. So what I'm going to do is just sit here and tell you what I'm going through when inside I'm vibrating. And not in a good way. I am freaking out. And I'd say that 98% of humanity would never know with me. There's that 2% who would look at me and go, is everything okay? I'm like, no, I'm having a full-blown anxiety attack right now. What can I do? Just sit here beside me and talk to me about something else. Distract me from it. And the way I like to tell people that the distraction works is similar with ripping the Band-Aid off. Okay, I'm going to tear this Band-Aid off. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Look at that. That's a Siberian Husky. I've not seen one of them. Distract me so I don't have to feel the pain. I don't know that it's good, but it works and it gets me through to another day. I don't even know that if there's any clinical sort of explanation as to why it works or why you should or shouldn't do it. But if I live to see another day, isn't that successful? I certainly think it is. And ultimately, that is the goal. Live to see another day. Live to breathe another day. Have another day above ground so that maybe you can do better tomorrow. Maybe you can help somebody tomorrow. Maybe you can love somebody tomorrow. Maybe you can allow somebody to love you back. And maybe that's for the first time. Take a deep breath. Hold it in for 3 seconds. If you can do it for 5, that's even better. Then exhale. If you need to repeat the process, do so. It's going to calm you. Thinking about it calms me. And sometimes I need to be calm when I talk about things that are difficult. Allowing somebody to love you and letting somebody love you. I don't know how to I don't know how to, I don't think I have the words to describe to you how um, good it is, how unique it is, how comforting it is, how happy it makes me to know that someone loves me despite all my messed up faults. I didn't think I could have that. And I'd resign myself to, um, okay, so I don't get that. That's okay. I'll try and be as happy as I can be without it. And don't get me wrong, I was pretty happy. But now I have something I never thought I would have. And it's a whole new world for me. It's all new territory. And some days I think I'm doing an okay job. And other days I'm like, oh, I messed up. I think it's because I never really had the way to understand it. I never had the tools. I never had the knowledge, the skill set. We're not equipped for it. Many of us aren't. It's not like I don't, my parents love me, my sisters love me, and I get that. And I know they do. I'm very lucky to have that. But my brain chemistry doesn't necessarily allow me to feel that. It feels like I'm underwater most of the time. I see them. I know they're there. I'm sitting in the shallow end of the pool with my head underwater with a mask on and a snorkel so I can breathe. But the sounds are muffled. You're a little numb because the water is not cold, but it's not exactly hot. Not a bath water, it's a pool. It's meant to cool you, right? So everybody's there splashing about and you're in their vicinity, but you don't feel like you're present. And I felt like that for most of my life. I remember once I told my sister, I said, I'm an outsider and I always feel like one. She goes, what are you talking about? And I go, I'm shy and I feel like an outsider. She goes, Paul, you were at the pub. You had everybody engaged in conversation with you. And I go, it's because I don't want to sit alone in the corner and cry. So I engage people to have conversation. And another friend of ours that night had told me earlier in the evening, that's because you get your energy from other people. And that is true. I do get energized when I'm in the company of others. But I can still feel alone, and I can still feel lonely, and I can still feel sad, and I can still feel unloved. And I hate that. I hate that my brain works that way. But I do my best to try and overcome it. The medication helps, the therapy helps. Having open discussions with my partner makes all the difference in the world. And I hope that anybody listening to or watching this someday have that too. Whether it's platonic, romantic, or just through a colleague where you have somebody that you can confide in and let them know what you're going through when you're going through it and that they're there for you. I hope you have that too. And with that, my friends, I will bid you adieu. I'm going to transfer you to the weather cam for a couple of seconds. And then I'm going to say goodnight. You take care. I'll see you soon. Bye.